Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. Here you are as a young guy getting started and everything. How did that impact you? How did that transform you just being around that?
Just being around them and playing with those guys elevated my playing, it's kind of like if you're a half decent tennis player and you start playing with the pros, then your game rises, gets up. Yeah. My game started to get really good playing with these guys. And
that mushroomed into everything that came after that, I guess.
Yeah, I started working with some big artists. I mean, when Average White Band faded, I became like a studio musician, and then while I was doing the studio musician stuff and running around recording for all these different people, Duran came on the looking and asked if I wanted to work with them. They were thinking of getting back together, and I ended up going to London and working with them on Notorious, and then I was on tour with Duran, and we happened to be in London when Bob Geldof got knighted. And they had a big party at the Hard Rock Cafe, and I went to that. And I was sitting there and I was mingling. Phil Collins came over. He said, "Hey, Steve, how you doing?" I said, "I'm fine, Phil. How are you?" He said, "Did you ever meet Eric Clapton?" And I said, "I met him once with Average White Band. He showed up at a gig, but just to say hello. I don't really know." He said, "Oh, he's come over." He said, I'm sitting over here with him." So I went over and I sat down 15 minutes and chatted with Eric Clapton and Phil Collins, and we just sat there, chatted, and then I got up and I left. And a couple of weeks later, I got this phone call. "Eric's going to play a few gigs. Would you like to come and play with him?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to play with Eric Clapton." And I went and did that. And then that turned into a gig. And then George Harrison, and then came from that, directly from playing with Eric. He liked to come and see us play at the Albert Hall. And one day he walked in there and said, "I been offered a gig, but I don't have a band." And Eric said, "Well, why don't you take mine?" And George turned around and looked at us and said, "Would you guys play with me?" And it's like, "Yeah." And then we went and did that, and then through that I did a gig, and Mike Campbell was there came and played guitar with George at the Royal Albert Hall, and then the next thing I know, I got this call to come out and play with this mysterious band out in California who didn't want to tell me who it was, and I walked into the studio. They flew me out there and put me in Sportsman's Lodge, and that wasn't much of a clue to who it was I was going to.
Right. Yeah. That was a funny choice.
Yeah. And then I walk into Sound City, and there's Mike Campbell and Tom Petty sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh, it's you, it's you." And then we sat down and cut "You Don't Know How It Feels," and this is the funny thing, was that I'd never met. I'd met Mike before with George. I'd never met Tom before, and so we sit down and we do learn this song, and we play it, and we go in and we listen to it. And they were behind with Rick Rubin and Jim Scott were behind the board, and Mike and Tom was standing behind them. I was in front of the board with my back to the studio. And I'm standing there, and they listen to this track. And Tom turns around to Mike, and he says, "Wow, what a difference a drummer makes, eh?" and I'm standing there going, "Well, what does that mean?" That could have meant anything. And Tom looked right at me, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, you won." And I didn't even know I was in a competition for anything. I just thought I was coming out there to do a session.
And you won.
And I stayed the rest of that week, and we recorded the first half. Then the big change came for me.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
Part 2 of the recording. So that was in October. April the 30th of 1993, I had a lot of personal stuff going on, and I decided that I was going to stop drinking. And I was going to stop messing around with drugs, And I was 43 years old, and none of that stuff looked really good on me. And I had too much trouble going on. There was no way out of it. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to try doing this without that. And I stopped drinking. And I stopped drinking, and stopped messing around with that stuff. And then I came back out, and I did the second half of the recording. And that went well too. And so the Heartbreakers have been with me. The first time I came out, I was drinking. The second time I came back out, I wasn't drinking. And
how was that different for you? How was that different for you? The experience of it.
Well, I mean, I didn't exactly. I never drank on the job. I would drink after the job. I mean, that was my celebration.
Right.
Was after I finished work, I could go drink as much as I want. But my personal life, as far as there was a lot of children flying around and a lot of child support, and I couldn't figure out why people were having kids with me anyways. It's like, my life was a mess. It seemed like I was never going to have any fun anymore, and that my life was over. And then the Heartbreakers came along, and I remember from the Wildflowers recording, Tom had this song called "Crawling Back to You," and there was a line in that song that really stuck out to me. Was I'm so tired of being tired. Sure as night turns into day, most things I worry about never happen anyway. And that whole line, most things I worry about never happen anyway, really stuck out for me. And through all the early years of sobriety, when Tom passed away, I had it tattooed on my arm.
Oh, you did? Oh.
I got the little Heartbreaker logo, and when I played, that logo points straight at my heart. And
wow.
And it was 25 transformative years that changed my life. Taking the drugs and the alcohol out of my life really made me change a lot of things, and I'm truly grateful for that.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.